So they made a very nice sikkum klali this chavra to do the biurim and the Rebbe's memorim. I posted it. It's not in order. You'll see. I think one of the you'll see posted it yesterday. If you want to post it again, I can send it again. Let's go through it. It's a very good summary. Sif by sif. Sif Aleph. Bulus Aben Azokin in Yonah Fatis Amayonas Chutzos. The Alter Rebbe's redemption. What is it? It's a Fatis Amayonas. V'yesh l'shayches l'teichen ha'posuk Podoh בשלום nafshi. So I want you to tell me the answer to all this, basically, that we learn, including the Sikha. So it's connected to the Posek Podoh בשלום nafshi, and also to the Inyan of Ha'isik B'Torah, Gemilas Chasodim, Mispalim Etzibur. So what would you say in answer to this, in retrospect, that we learned the Maimer? It's connected to Posek, so the connection to Podoh B'Shalom Nafshi is, amongst other things, that the whole Maimon at the end explains the ultimate Padiyah, which is Lasid Lavoi. There's Moishe Rabbeinu's victory, there's Shleim HaMelech, his peace, Shleim Melech's peace, and the final redemption. And that's the ultimate Sholem. And that comes as a result of the Gilui HaYechida. That's in Pnimius Atik, and the Neshama is connected to Pnimius Atik. And that's what Gilui Chassidus is. Chassidus is revelation of Yechida Shebetoira as a result of the Yechida Shebeneshama bound up with Pnimius Atik. Hence the whole connection to the ultimate Pnimius B'Sholem. That's the often broad strokes at the end. And the connection to Oisik B'Torah was Moededik. That it's not just to the Avodik Gemilas Chasodim, Mispalim Hatzibur, aside from the Diyukim of the Seder Hadvarim, and why the first two are the Inyan of Sholem. Mispalim Hatzibur is a different category, but why that's not at the beginning, since Tefillah should come before, that was all in the Sichas. But at the end, it all comes out is that the Oisik B'Torah is because it's all about the Yid and the Neshama. In Pirkei Avos, he speaks about the pull in the Welt, but then there's the pull on the person, that's the Pnimius HaKavon. In simple language, God's the Pnimius HaKavona is the relationship with us. I'll just tell you something that what happened by the Kinnos was that there was you probably saw the piece that went viral. There was a piece of the Fabellion that went viral. You didn't see it? No. You did see it. Okay, so what happened was that after the Kiddush, it actually became official, Fabrengen with young Shluchim, 200, I don't know how many Chevre. Young Shluchim definition is guys out on Shlichus 10 years and younger. So as a result of that Fabrengen, that spawned a chat with us, where I'm continuing what I spoke about by the Fabrengen, and some, they ask questions, I try and answer the best of my ability. So someone last night posted, could you tell us something about Tes Yud Kislev, which is Shabbos and Sunday, that we can give over to that community, something brief. So this is what I shared with them, inspired by what we just learned. The Hainu, the Bekitza, that till Chassidus, the life was very black and white, it was very simple. We're down here to earn a place up there. Torah mitzvahs earned us a place. We avoid the hellfires of Gehenna. The world changes, Torah mitzvahs doesn't change. Of course not. It's nitzchias. The world evolves and becomes more modern. But Torah is forever, and it's a black and white model. It explains everything. Suffering is great because if you suffer down here, you're in a place up there. It's a very neat model. It's a very neat and simple model. Again, especially when it comes to suffering. Because it cleanses you and it means a bigger reward. Yeah, so it's very painful, but it's worth it because the reward is much greater. And moreover, you avoid suffering in the next world for sins because a little bit here removes much, is a great, cleanses, purges much more than is required in the hereafter. Very positive. Then along came the Baal Shem Tov before the Tariz on the Alter Rebbe. putting it this way, a book that's written, so it's a bestseller, everybody's reading it, it's a great story. And then once everybody's read the story or whatever the book is, it comes the time to meet the author. Who are you? Why did you write the book? Where are you in the book? That's Chassidus. So Chassidus is meet the author before Mashiach comes. So what does it turn out when you meet the author? What's the point of Torah mitzvahs? God's desire for a relationship with us. And that's evolutionary. That changes. That evolves. Relationships evolve. So I often say if I had to pick 10 words to encapsulate Judaism, Yiddishkeit evolution would be at the top of the list. Not Darwinian evolution, of course, chas v'sholem, but evolution in terms of the world evolving and the relationship evolving towards its ultimate destination. So that means there's change. So there was Mittel Rebbe, the Rabbi, and we see this in the last generations, this in its incredible evolution, rapid. In Gili Chassidus, the Alter Rebbe reveals Chassidus in way of Chochmah, intuitive and in kind of almost instinctual and essential and seminal. It's L'mayla Lamata, relatively speaking, Chochmah. It's a flash that wells up from deep in the soul that recognizes the soul, the truth. That's what Chochmah is. Or discovers truth. And what's Bina? Bina is subjective. Bina is already taking it and analyzing it and absorbing it and internalizing it. That's the relationship. It's the next critical stage in the relationship with Hashem, so that it permeates every aspect of our being, down to Malchus, our Rebbe, which incorporates everything rooted in Pnimius Atik. Akulponim. That's the diuk of Kol Ha'isik B'Torah, of Mitzvah Chasanis Pala Matzib, Kol Ha'isik. It's about the Yid. And then the beautiful explanation that the Alter Rebbe did all three in Yonim. The Ikke Hasbara was had Alter Rebbe Daven B'Tzibur. That was the main Hasbara. Ki Barabim Hayu Modi. What was in the code of the Hasbara? Mele, he was Isaac B'Torah. He was able, of course, to learn Ba'amkas, the Alter Rebbe. How did he do Gemilas Chasadim in prison? Who remembers? Hillel Hazaken. Hillel used to say when he eats, he's going to do a Gemilas Chesed with the forsaken, forlorn one, the Guf. So when the Alter Rebbe ate, that was Gemilas Chasadim. Tefillah B'Tzibur, what was the end? Kan B'Yachid, Kan B'Rabim. Tefillah B'Tzibur means two things, davening for the Tzibur. And that's because Kan B'Yachid, you're davening with Yechidish B'Nefesh, and Yechidish B'Nefesh are connected to all Yidden, and you're davening for all Yidden. That was the Nekudah of the Sich, of the Sichas, two Verbrenget, they're combined. The Alter Rebbe daven B'Tzibur, Poshet for the Tzibur, and based on the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Kan B'Yachid, Kan B'Rabim, that there's an equivalency between a Tzeres HaMetshuva for the Rabbim and for the Yachid year round. What is Tzeres HaMetshuva? Gila Yechida. Soul essence, bound up with the essence of Hashem. Okay, so that was the answers at the end of all the shilas. Steve Bays. Every mime is beautiful. You remember the Vot of Rabbi. Chassidim say that all you have to learn, Chassidim would say, all you have to learn your whole life is one mimer. To understand this mimer, it's 1,000 mimer. But really, it's one mimer. Every mimer is that one mimer. Especially Mugadik Mamorim, they've invested in the mimers, the yukim and time. In addition to saying the mimer, which is the ikir, Hamshocha Velikus. Just as an aside, if you didn't listen to this on YouTube, you can see the last week, Dr. Ira Weiss from Chicago was on Zoom for bringing in London, and they put him on a big screen, and he spoke for like 45 minutes, maybe longer. You have to hear it. You have to hear it, and primarily, I'll tell you for what?
In the campus Shlochem.
Insight into the relationship between the Rebbe and the Rebbe, their relationship. He said, the Rebbe told Dr. Weiss something like this, that Chodesh Kislev would return to good health after 2 heart attacks and a massive heart attack. For him, the greatest personal victory was that now he can spend his 20 minutes, whatever it is, with the Rebbetzin. He called it a tea party, the doctor. He called it a tea party every day with the Rebbetzin that Rebbe had in privacy. And he says, we heard this before, that they used to spar. And it was every day. And Rebbe told him that these 20 minutes, whatever it is that he spends with the Rebbetzin, is by him as important as putting on film. So Dr. Weiss hastens to add, he's not giving halachic ruling, but he's just saying how Negir Benefesh, the Rebbetzin, we get insight into their mamish 2 halves of 1 neshama and how critical she was in the whole story. The whole story, the Rebbe had indicated he doesn't want to go to a hospital. Then his blood pressure fell, he lost consciousness, and the doctors were of the opinion that they got to take him, he got to go to ICU. So the Rebbetzin was the one that said, no. My husband said he doesn't want to go. I never went against his word, and I won't do that now. And then Tishaltz affirmed it. If that's what he wants, then do not do it. And in the end, also, I didn't know this. I'm just sharing with you that the Rebbe's room became better than an ICU unit in Cornell, and the biggest university, because Tishaltz worked for NASA, and he was able to get to the Rebbe the first non-wire, wireless heart monitor. Till then, you were plugged in the big hospital with wires, and you couldn't move it. You had complete autonomy to move because it was wireless. Only one. That you wouldn't get this in a university. Tishaltz brought it from because he worked for NASA. Very high level. But the interview is just because I tell you why. He's not writing from the perspective of a chassid in the Veldon Chassidus. I don't think he's still doing Chassidus. It's poshet, a personal relationship, a doctor. In the end, he says, and the famous word, he says at the end that he was remarking to his wife, they live in these white mountains there. Where does he live? It's in the Boston area. No, Chicago. There's some
Evanston.
Maybe they were living somewhere else then. Pennsylvania. Where is it? Akaponim. So it's a beautiful spot they would travel to constantly. And he said, metaphor, he said, a mountain is very small from the distance, but the closer you get to it, the bigger it is. She tells the listeners, I mean, this man is administered to prime ministers, presidents, sheiks, I mean, the world's leaders on politically, financially, and he said, beginning there, like celebrities, at the outset, they're very, what's the word? One is in awe of them. The more you get closer, you get to know them. They shrink and shrink and shrink, and the flaws, etc. Which is normal. He says the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin, he had both, the opposite. The more I got to know them, and she kind of adopted him as a son, the Rebbetzin, that's how in the relationship, the more I was in awe of them. The closer, the more I saw the minutiae, the detail of their lives, their interactions, their lives, and the words he used about the Rebbe. Just beautiful. You have to hear it. You have to hear this beautiful interview on YouTube, Dr. Weiss, on Zoom. Okay, Sif Beis. I was telling the guys about the Verbringen in New York. The bleak fullness of the Rebbe. It's 31 years after Gimel Tammuz. There's one that I know. There is a WhatsApp group that started, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. Who's on this WhatsApp group? YY Jacobson, Asaf Farkash. There's 200 guys watching and listening, but there's like 10 guys that the top Lubavitch thinkers and Talmidei Chacham scholars that are exchanging, and people ask questions. It's all about the Rebbe, the Rebbe's Torah, the Rebbe's Anah. It's inexhaustible. It's unbelievable. It's mind-boggling. And the depth of the discussion, the analysis, Sometimes it's more trivial. Sometimes it's really in depth in our scholar history. Just an endless reservoir of inspiration, information, story, nuance, big, small. Mama's mind-boggling. Well, look at this WhatsApp. I'm just blown away and it's 24/7 because they're around the world, except for Shabbos, maybe a few hours off. It's constantly in motion. Now for 2 years straight, maybe longer. 2 years straight, 24/7, 6 days a week, l'chol hapachas. Endless discussion and some guys have access to kisviyah, they're posting new stuff. And some of them, there's a guy tells them, the Levi tells them, the Baki and the Rebbe's Torah, brother of Shmuley. A lot of these guys really know their stuff. It's amazing to listen and that they discuss and offer insight and debate. This is unprecedented, my dear friends. It's never in history. Adding whole new depth to the nitzchias of the Nasi of the Tzaddik. Practical, physical almost. Siv Beis Dalit Shailis with Podoh B'Shalom, 4 questions with Rosh Hashanah Pasuk Zeh. And so the 4 questions on the Pasuk and the Gemara. Aleph, Mayin Podoh B'Shalom. What's the Ma'ila Podoh B'Shalom? Again, the answer to that again is the third dargan, the third level of redemption. Beis Ma'ya Shaycha the Brab Mayin Modi Lekach. What's the connection? And that explained also independently, because when do you see it's a true Podoh B'Shalom? When the Rabbim, the many, participate. The world of multiplicity, of division. The Anshe Avshalom's men daven for David's victory. Habila Beis Hashalis Hakam Sifir Gimel, the answer will be in Sifir Gimel. Madu B'drash Tzram B'chalokim Teim Chasadim Mishalom. So why are they Shalom Mispalim HaTzibur as Barabim Hoyim Modi? That was explained. What was the answer to that? Because the Maimon gave 2 answers. The Maimon's answer was because the Kavanah, based on the Sichos, the Kavanah is Amshachim Elamayla, and therefore Torah, Gibelis Chasodim. The biggest Amshach is Torah. Mispalim Matzibur is the Keli. That's Melamata Lamayla, that's Tefillah. But then the Rebbe said that's B'Yemeihem, when the Ikar was Torah. But now the Ikar is what? Is Gibelis Chasodim. Tefillah B'Tzibur. So what's the Seder? The Seder is because Adarabah goes Melamata Lamayla. It's Melamata Lamayla in terms of significance. Torah, Chasadim, and the ultimate, which is Tefillah B'Tzibur, the Yid giving himself. That's what he gives himself over. Chasadim is the pull in the world. So the second beer in the Sikha was, the first beer was Bisman Neihem, when Torah was the Ikar Avodah. Gil Melamayla Lamata. The second beer in the Sikha was it's Melamata Lamayla. That's all explained in the Maimon. That's in the Sichos. Dalet, Madu Nokta Kola Isek. Why the Mishachas Adam emphasis on the person who is involved in these things? Unlike in Pirkei Yavas being in Atayrik, the answer to that is because Gili Yichida. It's about the Alter Rebbe's redemption, and the whole Gili Chassidus couldn't happen until he revealed his Yichid. By revealing his Yichida, that revealed the Yichid of Torah, the essence of Torah, Pnimis HaTorah, etc. By extension, the Rebbe doesn't spell it out there, but this is the Rebbe's whole Nakuda, that the Dirib B'Tachtoinim is you. You're the Kavod. It's called a Oisek. Gimel. Now, that was all laid out. Now comes the heart of the mind, but it explains level after level all the Inyonim. Sif Gimel, Habir Behektem, understand by first prefacing, Pirish V'Chasidecha Yivachucha. The Pasuk starts off how? How does the Pasuk begin, friends? It's critical to the beginning of the pasuk because that's the foundation of the whole thing. What's the? It doesn't bring it. No. How does the pasuk start? Yiducha Hashem kol maasecha. What does he derive from the pasuk there? That's the foundation. Then what are we talking about? The diak yiducha. That's the whole point of it all. The Mamshech, we're talking about a level of Alikus that cannot be accessed through Seichel, only Yeducha, which means at the end, Pnimius Atik Mamish Atzmus. Who is mamshich that? V'chasidecha yivorchucha. The whole being yivorchu, cha, koi, malchus, and dafke chasidecha. As the Bible goes on to say, let's go on. David, medafis learning, like it's coming Shabbos, Yitzchak Kislev. This is the Maimer we need to live with. It's mugadik Maimer, Yitzchak Kislev. Shall I make more copies for Shabbos? Yeah. Okay, we'll make copies. Shabbos, all the Chavra, Shabbos and Shul, will be davening at 1:30, 2 o'clock. Learn the Maimer one time and a second time. Once in a while, it can happen. You tell your wives the Chatchila coming up later. Shabbos is Tes Kislev, yeah? And then Yud Kislev, and then Yud Gimel Kislev. When the court ruled that the Rebbe doesn't testify, Yud Dalet Kislev, the Rebbe's Chasana. And Tes Kislev next week. We're in the throes of it, friends. So, the Hu Amshachas Giloi Oir, what level? So first of all, Yivorcho, which means not Yehirotzen, it's going to happen. But the other hand, it's the mile of Tefillah, because it's an Hamshacha Chadosha beyond Bezdin Shemayla, beyond Ishtalshus, beyond worthiness or unworthiness. Giloi Oir Yivorcho b'Malchus, where? Yivorchucha in Malchus. Malchus is Koi as opposed to Zeh, as we explained. And Hamshacha Zu b'Koyach Chasidecha Dafke. Why is the union of Chesed? Because it's not tzedakah, which is filling the lack. It's not even Ashirus. It's Chesed, beyond even Ashirus. Friends, give me a pasuk. Give me a pasuk that in 3 simple words conveys the 3 dargas. Chesed, Ashirus, and Miliach Sodom, which is tzedakah, which you say every day. Every day, I'm going to say it soon, in davening. In the middle of Psukkah de Zimra. Ata hu Havaya. Ata Primis Atik, that's Reisha, Eirin Sof, that's Islabish and Reisha, the Slayis Yada. Who is the Etzema, the highest Giloi, that was the time of Shleima Melech. And Havaya, that's like time of Moshe Rabbeinu. Therefore, hence the different levels of Pdi, of Shalom, of effect on the world. And that's Chesed. That's Chesed, Ashirus, and Tzedakah. And as we said, Atzmus corresponds. Mami doesn't say these words, but it corresponds. Atzmus is Baruch, Sevu Kalam, and Mamala Kalam. So therefore, it's Chasidecha, because what's Chasidecha, Shekain, Allah, number 1, Yam Shachas, Nihilis, and Malkim Shesh by Yedab Lavad. That's Yeduch Hashem. It's a lofty revelation where there's nothing can grasp it, no keli. It's Yeducha, surrender, acknowledgement. And the diak is Hamshachi Ba'ifan de Bracha, like Tzivui. Later the Maimon said it's even higher than Tzivui. Pnimis HaTorah, Rashbi's Torah is higher than Tzivui. The Pinchas ben Yoy was B'derech Tzivui. He commanded Al Pitoira, the river Ganoi, to part for him. He's on a mission of Pidyon Shvuim. Shimon B'Yochai said a Torah in Matev Manoim, and the rain fell. That's even higher than Tzivui. There's a highest level of bracha. The Maimon continues, yeah. And so to understand the virtue of this, Hamshach stood by first, back in premising Achiluk bein Tefillah lebracha, which we just said now, and I see it inside. Tefillah milamata lamayla, for so Tefillah is where asking God, and God could say yes, and God could say no, no is also an answer. Ubracha milamayla mata, but the bracha is, boom, opening up, it's going to happen. The fichach Tefillah b'derech bakash, Tefillah is a request, everybody can request, doesn't mean it's going to be fulfilled. Who can give a bracha? Only one that has the authority to do so, because it's a command. You shall be benched. So the Mevarach has to be higher than the place that he's opening up to be Mamshech, the bracha to the recipient. So that's it. Ma'alis HaBracha his Mamshusa Vadois. The Ma'al of a bracha is that its realization is certain. Ma'alis HaTfilah and Ma'al HaTfilahs Shebekeicha Levatel Gzeiris. He rotzen. It was decreed in heavenly court so and so, such and such. Mevatel the Gzeira. Lamshich hashpa kal chadosha and you hashpa. Why? Because tefillah, as he rotzen, lefishem agas leidin some shalmanim mishtalshus, and here we have the bracha lemanim mishtalshus. Yivar chucha yeducha Hashem kol masecha. That this darg of yeducha is comes b'derech bracha. Yapizem moving great ila bracha shel chasidecha. So now we understand the virtue of the bracha of chasidecha. Keles shtei amal is both virtues. The tefillah, the rotzen chodesh, and you will hide in ishtalshus the bracha b'derech tzivoy. It's going to be commanded. Okay, start a story now, or continue the Sikkim Klali?
Continue.
Chaim's got the veto vote. What?
Continue. Yalla.
All right, because we told stories this morning already. Okay. Is that the cheshbon? Siv Dalet. Hamshocha zuhi al derech hamshocha zitana. This is similar to the hamshocha of Torah. That in name of Roim Shichal Yod Tirasim Gilead in some Shaman Mishtal. If you remember, the Lashon there was like awesome miracles, Pinchas ben Yoel, etc., that they were mamshech through their Torah, revelation of Ein Sof, higher than the whole system. So the Tanaim HaMaroim through Torah has both, it's like bracha, both miles. Nasa Shinu Ba'olam Tefillah, they change the order of nature, like Tefillah can do. We're not requesting hirotzen. This is how it's going to be. Bracha. They paskined. And so it was. But in Torah Gufa, there's two darges. Ulam bepulis at Torah Gufa, there's base darges, but there's tzibur gzeira. So that's a Pinchas ben Yoel. There's two levels. He commands it. He spoke to the river and commanded it. These are the awesome miracles. All the Atanim what I made. And then is B'derech Meila. That's Rashbi. He said Torah, and it happened, the rain fell. Which one do we mean? The higher darge, that's the ultimate bracha that comes, not even B'derech Tzivoy. He doesn't talk about rain, the heavens open up. He says Torah, and the world surrenders because it's Gilu Ya'etzem, and the Maim explains at length, and there can be nothing outside of that. Ein Ed Mulvada. What's the connection to Chasidecha? Tzedakah, so there's three dargas. Tzedakah, Ashirus, wealth, and Chasidecha. Let's Chasadim. So tzedakah is Maloshin Tzedek v'Yosher. Tzedakah means righteous is the right thing. Each one should get what he needs, and what's that? Miliach Soden, to fulfill the lack. Remember, how does it apply to Malchus? What's tzedakah in Malchus? What I'm shochat tzedakah in Malchus? Now give me the technical words of the Maimon gave. Filling the lack. What's the lack? It's 5 in Yonim that Malchus lacks, that the Tzimtzum eclipses, which is basically from Keser down to Zod, that is no longer illuminating in a begolidic way in Malchus. That's tzedakah. That's restoring Malchus to its fullness, Malakalami. Then there is, that's Milach Sodet. Chesed is the third darga. First, before he separates it, now it's like Ashirus, and that's Chesed. So Kach L'mayla, B'svidas HaMalchus, Tzedakah, yeah. He merely Achsorim the Malchus, Tzedakah fills what the lack, that Tzimtzum was pale, what's eclipsed overtly, the Hepatzufim, the 5 forms, literally, which generally, as I just told you, embraces all of the Svidas. Hashidus Ugili Chodesh HaMalchus. Hashidus is a Chodesh, a new revelation, Atik. Now he adds, that's Hashidus. But Chasidecha Sivhei, Sivvov. You say to Mizu, it's the wealthy that need a Gemilas Chesed. Even the wealthy. Even higher than wealth. And what is that? It's completely beyond even Ashiras, could accommodate the rest of the mind, but will elaborate.